I'm looking at the comments here, and this one got a lot of likes. Back to an 8-4 program for Michigan. I know this guy's probably trying to crack a joke and get a couple likes on his tweet here, but on a serious note, what do y'all think is going to happen? As to how drastic the drop-off is going to be, I don't know. I could see him being as bad as... Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Well, I always say that. You're going to see this in the afternoon, but you get what I'm trying to say. We got a fairly important situation on our hands here because Michigan currently does not have a head coach. Why is that important, you may ask? Oh, well, you know, because Michigan just won the national championship. It's not every day that your reigning national champion no longer has a head coach heading into the next season. I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, Jim Harbaugh is only the 5th head coach to leave his team after winning a national championship. And I guess I got to throw this in here, but if you've been keeping up with the channel, you already know this by now. Jim Harbaugh, he has officially left Michigan to go be the head coach of the Chargers. Congratulations to him. I'm not going to talk about that too much because you're not here for that. What you're here for is to see who's going to be the new head coach for Michigan. And I might as well throw this in here because I saw it on On3 today. Steve Sarkisian is the only college football playoff head coach returning to his team in 2024. What about that? I didn't even think about that until I saw this graphic right here you're looking at, and yeah, I thought it was interesting. And I think it's more than safe to say at this point in time that Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan, it was inevitable. We saw this coming 10,000 miles away. I think we made a video, when was it, 9 or 10 days ago, talking about it. This was something that's been to the works for a while now, and there's always been rumors the past couple of years that he was going to leave Michigan, but he finally did it this year. And whether people believe this or not, it's the truth. The championship he won this year really didn't have any effect on it whatsoever. He was going to leave whether they won or not. It's great that they won the championship, but that had no effect in this whatsoever. Harbaugh leaving Michigan was simply due to the NCAA pretty much harassing them nonstop 24/7. And also, Michigan's about to get hit with sanctions. They lost their star quarterback. There's just no reason to come back. And it's a done deal. He's officially gone. And I could sit up here and talk about that for the next 15 minutes, but let's not do that, and let's focus on the future. The past couple of weeks, I've already been thinking about it. If Jim Harbaugh leaves, if I was a Michigan fan, which I am not, who would I want to be the new head coach? Well, immediately my focus turns to Sherrone Moore because he seems like everything Michigan wants and needs. And let's be honest, the only knock on Sherrone Moore that any person could have had is, oh, well, he doesn't necessarily have the experience. Well, you can somewhat throw that out the window because he did get experience this year when Harbaugh was suspended. And it's not that he just got experience. He beat your biggest rival, the little bro, Ohio State. If he would have lost that game, we might be having a different conversation right now, but the bottom line is, he won it. And to go on top of all of that, I think the Michigan fan base loves Sherrone Moore, and like I said, he feels like a Michigan head coach. Why don't you take a look at this? Here's what one of my very reliable sources, Brett McMurphy, tweeted out late last night. Michigan's offensive coordinator, Sherrone Moore, expected to be named UM's coach by the weekend, sources told Action Network. Quote unquote, it's 99.9%. It's Sherrone's job to lose. Moore was UM's acting head coach for 4 wins this year during Jim Harbaugh's suspensions, like we already talked about. So there you have it right there, but check out this reply. I thought it was rather interesting. Am I the only one who doesn't get this? Michigan is not the easiest program to win at, and they're handing over the reins to a guy who's never been a head coach? They should go get a real program builder, even if it means losing some transfers. What do I think about that? I'm not saying this person's right or wrong. It's just an interesting perspective, and you're entitled to your own opinion. It just caught me off guard because I thought everybody liked Sherrone Moore, but apparently not here, and I don't understand what this person doesn't get about it. Okay, yes, you can throw in there, well, yeah, he's not a proven head coach, but you do understand guys like Nick Saban at one point in time were also not a proven head coach. You see what I'm saying? You got to start somewhere. At one point in time, not just Nick Saban, but every head coach out there wasn't a head coach. And I don't understand the point at the end talking about they need to go get a real program builder. What are you talking about? Michigan's already built. They won a championship. You don't need to rebuild Michigan. Alabama and Michigan are in similar situations. You aren't trying to get better. You're just trying to maintain, sustain the success. These are much different situations from jobs like, we'll just say, Texas A&M, where you're trying to rebuild. You're trying to get to where Michigan and Alabama are currently at. This isn't a situation where Michigan and Washington and Alabama, all 3 of these schools, you didn't fire your head coach because of lack of success. They left. And matter of fact, I'd argue and say that this is the greatest time to take a risk because you're already at the top. You don't want to take a risk with a head coach when you're at the bottom for the obvious reason you got to win now. But coming off a championship, Michigan fans, they are somewhat content, and If you want to take a chance, do it now. Not that I personally think going after Sherrone Moore is quote-unquote taking a chance, but you get what I'm trying to say. To some other people, it looks like that's how they feel. And at this point in time, I'm trying to think, who else would you interview for the job? Are there any head coaches out there left that would fit the Michigan brand? I have no idea. I'm trying to think, who was that one name that was floating around? Oh yeah, Brian Kelly. I guess maybe Brian Kelly, but I don't know. I've heard that rumor the past month or so, and I have a hard time believing Brian Kelly is going to leave LSU. I just don't understand from a recruiting standpoint, because that was his biggest gripe at Notre Dame. They can't get 5-star recruits. Well, at Michigan, you're not going to get too many either. Especially at NIL and transfer portal, I think Kelly's better off staying at LSU. Another one I've seen floating around is Lane Kiffin. I really don't understand that one. Maybe I'm missing something there, but yeah, I just don't think it'd be a good fit. I guess the only other option would be Brian Kelly, but at this point in time, I'd be shocked if Michigan even interviews anybody else outside of Sherrone Moore. This is as simple as it gets. You don't need to overcomplicate situations. When you got a guy that is ready to go, he is ready to be the head coach, and I think he is. You just hand him the keys. This is like when you're looking for your first apartment or your first house, and let's say you get lucky and you just love the first one you tour or you love the first one you see. Well, if you love it, there's no need to look elsewhere. You got your place, and in this case and scenario, or in this analogy of it, you got your guy. Like they say, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and just don't overcomplicate this, Michigan. Don't overcomplicate it. I do need to throw this in there as well, because this is really weird. I didn't know this, but the job, the head coaching job, it must be posted for a minimum of 7 days due to the state laws in Michigan. In other terms, they can't hire a head coach for at minimum 7 days of the job posting. I assume the paperwork was filled out let's just say it was filled out this morning. So they can't hire Sherrone Moore or anyone until February. Let me throw this in here. This is not an NCAA rule or law. No. This is a state of Michigan law. I'm looking at the comments here, and this one got a lot of likes. Back to an 8-4 program for Michigan. I know this guy's probably trying to crack a joke and get a couple likes on his tweet here, but on a serious note, what do y'all think is going to happen? I think you got to be slightly delusional to not expect or even believe a slight drop-off is coming. Michigan won't be able to compete for a championship anytime soon just due to a lack of recruitment. They are struggling mightily when it comes to recruiting, and I'm not talking about in the top 25. I'm talking about with the big boys like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, etc. You know who I'm talking about. And even when they had Harbaugh, they weren't recruiting out of their minds. The reason this year's team was so good is because of the veteran leaders. They had 4, 5, 6-year seniors. This was the dream team. They had all these older guys. They had the star veteran quarterback come back, the veteran running backs. Everything lined up perfectly. But now that all these older guys are gone, I think some dark days are ahead for Michigan. And when I say some dark days, let me clarify. I'm more so talking about 8-4, 9-3 seasons. But you got to remember, compared to what they've done the past 3 years, I would label those as dark days. As to how drastic the drop-off is going to be, I don't know. I could see them being as bad as 7-5 and as good as 11-1. I think that's more than fair to say, and there's just a lot of question marks, not with the head coaching position, but with the team. And before we end off this video, I need to throw this in there as well. There's a big assumption around the college football world that a lot of these Michigan players are about to enter the transfer portal like Alabama had when Nick Saban retired. Will that happen? I have no idea, but just like with anything in this life, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Of course, I expect a few Michigan players to enter the portal, but to be honest, I don't think it's going to be as many as Alabama had. Because like I said, you got to remember, a lot of these guys that were on this Michigan team that won the championship, they were seniors. They were veterans. They're either leaving to go to the NFL draft or they're leaving because they're too old. And a lot of these guys also that came to Michigan, they didn't come to Michigan for Jim Harbaugh. Maybe you had a couple here and there, but most of them, I'd say 90%, they came to Michigan for Michigan. The difference with Alabama and Michigan is 95% of the players that went to Alabama, they didn't go to Alabama for Alabama. They went to Alabama for Nick Saban. With Michigan, it's different. It's probably the opposite. Whereas 95% of the players went to Alabama for Nick Saban, I'd say 95% of the players that went to Michigan, it was for Michigan. You'll see a few guys in the portal, but I don't expect a mass exodus like Bama had. There's a lot to this, and you know I'm going to keep you updated. Let me know your thoughts down below, but roll better!